So the example I want to give you is think of my hand as the hand of customer demand, and that could be sales orders from customers directly, or it could be demand forecasts that you bill to. And so that customer demand is basically activating a supply chain. And as customer demand fluctuates, the supply chain is responding. And I want you to think of this as a two-lane road. You have basically a set of orders of information that's going down. You have sales orders, and then maybe manufacturing orders and purchasing orders and warehouse orders and transfer orders. So this is one half of your control system. It's the command and control part of your control system. But then in the opposite lane, coming the opposite direction, is the supply chain responding by delivering materials and products in this direction. And it's also providing you with information in this direction that gives you information about the status of orders, like estimated completion dates, estimated delivery dates, giving you information, management information about the health of your supply chain. And so one of the things I want you to think about is what's the dynamic issues existing here. If you have volatile customer demand, maybe spikes are part of your business and unexpected orders, what can happen is that when the supply chain is activated in using that kind of very dynamic, spiky response, and it starts to jiggle. And what you'll see is some parts of the supply chain are moving up while others are moving down, and you get this out of phase motion. And the way that manifests itself is in a lot of ways, but the ones that you might recognize are having material shortages coupled with overstock in some places. And you'll also have a lot of date change activity if it's managed not in the right way. What you really want is your supply chain to be very stable. And if customer demand is stable, then the rest of your supply chain should be stable. And if it's dynamic, then there are things you can do to try and stabilize it. The problem that a lot of folks have when they're managing a manufacturing function is that they do things to stabilize the demand through inventory and things like that. But the way they manage their shop floor is they start to introduce the instabilities at lower levels. And then it transfers down through the supply chain to their suppliers. And if you look at how this chain moves, you'll see that the bottom weight, which represents your material suppliers and your procurement, that has the largest amplitude changes. So when I start to jiggle this chain, the weight at the bottom is going to be more animated than the ones up top, and that's just the nature of supply chain dynamics. So I want to introduce to you the idea that your ERP is really a control system, and we need to think of it in that way, which is not the traditional way to do it, and that there are things that we may inadvertently do. We think we're doing the right thing, but what we're doing is we're managing the system in a way that introduces a feedback loop that's negative in nature. It's a negative feedback loop, and then it leads to instabilities, and that's what we want to get out of.